have a very entrepreneurial audience. And I think one of the most interesting things about your story, and one of the things that like I've actually been wanting to dig in for a while, but I was like, save it for the podcast, Adkins. Keep it for the podcast. We want to get into like how this came together, because I think a lot of people out there are very inspired by what you're doing, because it's like there's so many little pieces to this. I have an idea for an app. I have an idea for something that will make the world a better place, but that's a hill to climb. That is like a huge hill in a lot of people's mind to climb. And so I the big thing that I want to ask you to start is like the difficult question that, I think a lot of people really struggle with is we understand that building these kinds of things at the level that we want to build them to takes funding. So like if you could, and you don't have to tell me everything, but as much as you possibly can, because I know people are super curious about this. How did you decide how to fund this thing, and how did you get funding to start to put this together? And then we'll talk about like actually getting people to help you build it in a minute, but like funding, what was that like?
I was working full time just because I knew that, I got to make a living. I have to have a paycheck. That was the hardest thing, is to think, how can I get just enough to move forward a little bit while I'm doing what I'm doing existent? How can I fit this into my everyday life now? And just forward motion every day is something that I try and remind myself of, even on the days that you don't feel like it. Forward motion every day, just a little bit. You're getting traction, something's happening, you're moving. So I actually went to a female friend that I really respect professionally and personally and said, hey, I need to ask you a really random weird question, and it's way outside of my comfort zone to ask people for things. So I'm like, I have this idea, this is what I want to do, will you help me out, will you support me? And I think I found out later that's called bootstrapping, apparently. So anyway, she was like, absolutely, I would love to support you. We got a quick, easy scale about how to pay that back, which I have already. This has been years ago that when I was just first starting with a complete other app, gotcha. Mind you. So it was an app for conventions. So everything has really come full circle. So yeah, it just really started organically like that. Got a beta test or actually I just did design screens with that first little tidbit that I had to work with, to kind of prove that it was a viable thing, to prove that it could happen. I went with a local company. It was a long, hard process, because you have to fit that in where you can. But if you believe in something enough, you're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
So fast forward, a convention app was not anywhere near what people wanted to, think about during COVID. So that was completely shut down. I knew how much e-commerce was booming and online shopping was booming. So my child's teacher would always send home something like a little preference sheet about it would tell all about her history and her schooling and her family. And then there was this little bitty box about, oh, these are my favorite things. These are some of the things that I like from a Mexican food restaurant or a particular coffee place, or she likes some kind of magazines or whatever. I would take a picture of that at the first of the year on my phone, and I would file it away somewhere really safe where I remembered where it was. Not. So then I'm scrolling back. It's her birthday. I'm like, I need to find out where this page is so I can get her something she likes. I don't interact with his teachers all the time, unless it's something school related. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be really weird. I'm going to Facebook friend her husband, which again, I would never normally do. I'd be like,
that's not a landmine.
I need to know what
that's not a potential landmine at all.
I need to know what.
No.
Right. This is terrible. It's a small town. People talk. It's one of those things. This is the only reason that I'm sending you a DM on Facebook, because I need to know what kind of coffee your wife likes so I can take it to her before noon, before the day is over. So anyway, it was kind of a funny story like that. And I'm like, what if I want to make her a gift basket and take her some of the other things that she likes, but I have no idea what she likes. Well, there should be an app for that. Well, that's kind of how Faves was born. And I recall all of the teachers, my son is 9 now, and pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they would always send this little preference sheet, but it really didn't give much detail at all. So I'm like, there should be an app for that. Now, fast forward, I find out within teacher circles even, they're using a binder, probably similar to what your company uses, for favorite things or for wish list items, or what they're using a binder with that you can flip through for each teacher to have, to find out what they like. Well, there's an app for that now. So that's, you mentioned funding, and it has to start really small, just to circle back around to that. But when I wasn't leaving the vision of the convention app. I was just tabling it for a minute to try and focus on something that I knew was needed in the marketplace right then, and that it was COVID proof. People can get on their app. They certainly have plenty of time on their hands since we're quarantining. So that's kind of how that was born. And I showed a couple of other people who were potential investors. I was like, I have this one app, but I have this other app now. This is something that I'm kind of wanting to churn on and create a mobile app design and development company out of this. Would you take a chance? I'm willing to, this is a percentage of the company that I'm willing to give up. If you invest, then I'll give you this percentage of the company. I wanted to lay the groundwork from a legal and financial standpoint. That's super important to me. So I kind of spent some time researching that, because I had no idea how to start a business or what I was doing. So I've made major failures along the way, haven't we all? But it's been such a great learning process. And I've just really been fortunate to gain knowledge from the failure and from people that I really, really respect in business and from a friendship standpoint. So it's grown exponentially from there. I'm really happy to say that it's live in the App Store and on Google Play now. And we're getting those downloads. We're starting very slowly, but we're just about to do a huge marketing push now because I wasn't ready to release it. It was like my baby. I didn't think it was good enough.
If you want to listen to more episodes, learn more about our mission, or send us questions or feedback about the show, go to serialprogressseeker.com. You can help the mission by subscribing, reviewing, rating, and commenting wherever you listen to or watch podcasts.